Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Eichhoff, and I serve as the Associate Director for Alumni Relations at John Carroll University. Thank you for joining us this evening for our next installment of the John Carroll University Alumni Author Series. The Alumni Author Series was launched in November of 2020 as a way to highlight those alumni who've written books, articles, poems, screenplays, and other written works within the John Carroll University community. Tonight, we are joined by Joseph Salem, and he will share his book, Love, Marriage, Money, Your Guide to a Financially Happy Family. Before I introduce Joe, I would like to provide you with some tips for tonight's program. First, please make sure you're muted throughout the duration of our program. If you have thoughts or questions for Joe, please use the chat feature. Following our moderated conversation, I will curate questions and ask them and pose them to Joe on your behalf. Finally, we suggest that you use the full screen option to view tonight's program. It is now my honor to introduce Joseph D. Salem, RICP, and a member of the John Carroll University class of 1995. Joe has been in the financial services industry since 1995 and has experience in multiple disciplines within the industry. During that time, he has helped business clients as well as individual clients at all stages of life prepare for and manage a myriad of financial situations. Since graduating from John Carroll, Joe has remained active in our alumni community, including having served on the Cleveland Alumni Chapter Board. Currently, Joe is a managing director and financial advisor at Lifetime Financial Growth and holds an RICP designation. He is an experienced public speaker and has been giving presentations on financial topics for more than a decade to multiple groups. For the last 12 years, Joe has taught personal finance to engaged couples during their pre-Cana exercises at the Jesuit Retreat Center in Parma, Ohio. In doing so, Joe has helped thousands of people learn how to start their lives off on the right foot financially, and therefore mitigate one of the largest sources of stress in a person's life and business. Please join me in welcoming Joe Salem. Hi, Joe. How are you doing tonight? Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, sorry I jumped in too soon earlier.
Oh, no, you're good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Things are really good. I'm glad to see we've got some great weather coming.
Definitely. Well, thanks again for being with us this evening. I know we're excited to jump into your book and learn a little bit more about you and your expertise. But let's just start about getting into the book itself. You know, I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of different authors as I have been doing these alumni author series. And one of the first questions I always want to ask is, because everyone has a different answer, why did you decide to write your book? And how and what inspired you to take that process and that project on?
Well, you know, as a kid, you always have pipe dreams of, oh, I'd love to do this, I'd love to do that. And I think I've always wanted, and I always, because I was pretty good in English class, and you know, we had to do our assignments for short stories and things like that, and I always enjoyed that. So it was kind of a thought from years ago. But I guess this particular book, why did I take it on? You can go back to 2008, 2009. And that's when I really started getting into working with the pre-Cana. And it was kind of I was pushed in that direction. And what I like to tell people is that sometimes when you're not heading down the right path, God just gives you a swift kick in the right direction. And I think that is kind of what happened to me. And I was at a point, I was making a career transition out of banking into financial planning. And it was 2008 and the economy was horrible. And so it was a little bit of a struggle getting a new practice off the ground. And so my parish priest, during some of my spiritual counseling sessions, gave me the idea to go talk to the Jesuit Retreat House and see, you know, whether I can present to the young couples there, because, you know, it's a great idea. Young couples need this kind of education. And again, I think that divine intervention, the director of the Jesuit Retreat House, or now called the Jesuit Retreat Center, was Sister Mary Ann Flannery, who was a communications professor at John Carroll when I was a communications major at John Carroll. See how it's starting to fit?
Yep.
So I got involved, and I got a lot of great feedback, and I had a lot of people want to work with me out of there and tell me that, you know what, Joe, if it wasn't for us seeing you there, I never would have gotten the help. We never would have probably thought that we could even meet with a financial advisor. So I thought along those lines of, well, maybe I should write a companion piece to it. And then somebody in my firm published his own book, and I saw him do it. And I was like, well, if he can do it, maybe I should think more seriously about doing it. Then, a few years later, I joined a Catholic men's networking group. And one of the other members of that networking group was Bob Singerline, who runs Scepter Publishing. And Bob had happened to have been on the board for the retreat house and saw me a couple times at Pre-Cana and asked me at one of the networking sessions, did you ever think about writing a book about what you do there? And he liked that my presentation included the faith as part of it. And he had an interest in it. So I said, actually, the point he first asked me, I said, yeah, I've got 3 chapters written already. And he's like, well, if you write a couple more chapters, send it my way, and I will take a look and see if we can do something. So eventually, life got to the point where I could finish the book, and I did. I sent it to him, and here I am. So I think inspiration was a lot of God kind of pushing me in the right direction.
That's pretty amazing. And we've known each other for a few years through your involvement with the Cleveland chapter, and I know religion and spirituality is something that's very, very important to you. So I love how it, feeling that God is urging you to go in that direction has helped you to write the book. So thank you for sharing that. Tell us a little bit about, I know in the book, it does talk a lot about spirituality. So tell us a little bit more how it ties into the core tenets of your book.
Well, yeah, throughout the book and throughout my presentation that I give at Pre-Cana, I use Bible quotes to kind of tie things together. There's a lot in the Bible about finance, so much so that I think people confuse the messages. I think people misunderstand sometimes what it's really doing, but what it's really saying. But in my mind, I think the biggest thing, the main theme throughout my book is stewardship. And there's a chapter all about stewardship. And the way that I kind of explain it, kind of in a nutshell, is that God is, actually stewardship was a concept that I didn't really understand until adulthood. It was thrown out. I'd heard it a lot through church and everything, but I didn't really comprehend what exactly it meant. But we're tasked with being responsible and managing responsibly all of the gifts that God has given us. That includes our health and our wealth and our ability to grow our wealth. And we do that not out of greed, but because one of the other tenets of our faith is charity. We can't be charitable if we are in fact in need of charity, right? So if we understand that we have the ability to grow our wealth responsibly, we should do that so that we can help those who, for whatever reason, be it mental or physical disability or what have you, don't have that ability to grow wealth. So that's where stewardship comes in with your own personal finances and wealth building. So when you're able to do that, then you could share it, then you could spread it and be charitable. So it is fully within our faith. And I think, we get confused with some of the biblical quotes, the camel through the eye of the needle and all of that. And some people think it's not right, but, it actually, it is your responsibility. And, on top of that, it's the whole thing, and I try to put it in the book, the theme of ad majorem Dei gloriam. You know, obviously being a graduate of a Jesuit school, I've incorporated that and incorporated to the book, to my profession, to my life, because we are supposed to be people for others.
Mhm.
And, you know, in order to do that responsibly, we have to be good stewards of our money and everything else.
So stewardship is obviously a incredibly important thing, and thank you for explaining that to us and how you view that, because I think some people maybe don't see that, how that kind of is woven through the Bible. What are some of the other core principles of your book?
Well, on the financial side, the book tries to explain to people that really the right way to build an optimal financial portfolio is through balance. And I think a lot of people, through advice of some advisors, get way out of balance. And we have to understand that, just like anything else in life, whether it be our biology or our health, whether it be, you know, what have you, your work and home life balance, you have to maintain balance in order for things to feel right. And if they're out of balance, they're out of whack. So, and it doesn't work right. So maintaining financial balance. So I try to teach what is financial balance through good stewardship of your money. So protection is a big key. Unfortunately, in the financial services industry, a lot of people push less protection, more risk. Where, you know, our firm and what my book preaches is that, you know, you need to make sure that you're fully protected, you know, because you're going to do all this hard work to build up your wealth so that you can do nice things with it. But if something comes along unexpected, it's going to wipe that hard work out. So we need to make sure that you have that protection in place. And that should be the foundation that you build upon.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's getting used to saving the right amounts and saving in the right fashion. People kind of put the cart before the horse a lot of times in their own personal finance. And rather than, they're loading up on a illiquid account like a 401k, which, I mean, they're great tools. But when you don't have anything liquid and you're putting everything into something that's locked up till you're 59 and a half and you can't touch it, and something happens, then you run into some trouble. Mm-hmm. There's also been a lot of bad advice about paying debts off too quickly, right? And what people don't realize is that, again, you get caught in that cycle. If you don't have liquid assets to build upon and to protect you from those unforeseen events, even though you've paid your debts down, you don't have anything in savings to handle that event. So you end up going right back into debt. And then that becomes a vicious cycle. And what we've seen a lot of in this country is that a lot of the baby boomers are retiring because they were told throughout their lives, pay off your debts first, instead of build your assets first, then you'll have enough to pay off your debts and you'll still have money left over, right? But they end up retiring with the only wealth they have is equity in their home. And how do you spend that? You only have two ways to access it: sell your house, but now you don't have anywhere to live, right? Or borrow against it. Well, now you're back in debt. So, you know, the book tries to get people to realize being debt free is great, and it is a very good goal, but put it in the right order.
Makes sense. So for someone who is just starting to develop their financial plan, what do you think you probably touch on it a little bit, but what do you think is the first thing that they should consider doing as they start to develop that plan?
Talk to a financial advisor.
Okay.
That's the first thing they should consider doing. And I think I say it throughout the book. Go seek somebody, go get some advice, because not everybody is a financial expert. You know, some people are IT experts, medical experts, or what have you. You don't spend your entire day learning all the new stuff that's going on, all the changes and all of that. So it makes perfect sense to do it or to get it help doing it. But a lot of people have it in their head that they can't afford it, or nobody's going to want to talk to me because I don't have that much money. Well, there are advisors out there that might say that to you, but not every advisor out there believes so there are advisors out there, and several of them, I know several firms in the area that work that way, where they will take on whoever wants the help. And the compensation structure is built so that most anybody can afford it. So it's good to have that guidance and that help. And one thing we often analogize it as, who was the first guy to summit Mount Everest? Sir Edmund Hillary. He made it up there because he had a good Sherpa that helped him create the plan on how to get up. But he didn't just get credit for summiting Mount Everest because he made it to the top, because I think it was Mallory was the last name. I'm drawing a blank on the guy's first name, but Mallory summited previously, like maybe 15 years prior. But he didn't make it down alive, so he didn't get credit. So having that Sherpa and having that plan to get down that mountain safely, that's what got him credit for being the first man to summit. So it's all about getting that help and having the right plan in place. That's the first thing that everybody should do, because you could try to get help online, but there's a lot of information online and not all of it's good.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of it that's not good. So place a few calls, see who would be willing to sit down and talk to you, and schedule an appointment with an advisor. Most places will at least give you a free consultation. So you get your first appointment, no obligation, no cost. At least you're going to get some information out of that first appointment.
Sure.
But I don't think really nowadays, with all the regulations and all the different products and everything that are out there, I don't think anybody should go it alone. You really do need to have somebody helping you sift through it, because just like anything else, there are good products and bad products that could help you come to or answer the problem that you're having. So you got to figure out which ones they are, but it takes a lot of time and effort. So not use somebody that has already done the research.
So we've talked about the front end of the spectrum, someone who's just starting out in their, developing their financial plan. What about someone who's, closer to retirement or in retirement? What would you kind of advise them, or what should their, next couple steps be as they kind of look towards the end of their career or their retirement age?
We'll talk to an advisor. And in all seriousness, I would seek out somebody with an RICP designation, not because I have one, but because the RICP stands for Retirement Income Certified Professional. And what it means is that you've actually done some work, some extra studies to figure out how to create the proper retirement income plan. With a lot of advisors, it's all about the ascent and building an accumulation. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the easies, for years and years in our industry, the thought process has been a 5% withdrawal rate from the total assets that you built up. And then they slash that and say, well, that's too much because, market fluctuations could eat away at that. You might run out of money before you die. Then they slashed it to 4%. And now recent studies are saying 3.5% or 3%. So it keeps going down, which means your income keeps going down as cost of living keeps going up.
Right.
But there are other ways rather than just, investing everything you have in the market and taking a percent of your asset. And people who have gone through the RICP coursework understand what's out there and how to design an income plan, incorporating Social Security. A lot of people ask, but what if Social Security is not there? Well, then absolutely, then that's going to put some kinks in the plan. I'm sure it will be there, but it might not be there at the same rate it currently is. Yeah. So making sure that you have somebody that can guide you through that. I just had a client of mine bring her mom in who has never worked with an advisor, and she doesn't have a lot of assets. She lives in Parma, in a modest bungalow. So, she's right now living just off of Social Security, but we were able to show her how, with what assets she does have, we can give her a boost and keep up with inflation, through some of the different strategies that we use in income designing and retirement income. So I would say it's even more important as you're nearing retirement to work with somebody and get that done. Now, there are studies that show that out there, if you want to read first before you go sit down with somebody. I like the one, Ernst & Young. Everybody knows E&Y. They've been around forever, huge, what is it, big three now, down to three. Mm-hmm. They're one of the big three now. And they came out with a study that talked about how to best incorporate a balanced portfolio with protection products and annuities and investments to design income to last a lifetime, and how that outperforms just stocks and bonds and mutual funds, a portfolio of investments alone. So you can go to EY's website and find that article. And that would be something that somebody could read before they go into somebody's office to talk about a plan.
Awesome. So obviously we are just coming out of a incredibly difficult year, right? I mean, no one thought this was going to happen, but it changed. It reoriented a lot of things. Personal lives, professional lives, people's, economic welfare. How do you factor in the current economic landscape that we're all kind of living in when addressing financial planning?
Well, obviously it's going to be a little different for every client.
Sure.
But for the most part, the economic landscape will never change the tenets of the financial plan, right? So you're always going to, if you're still early on in your career, you still got, 10, 20 years out in front of you before retirement, you still want to maximize your savings and build in the right types of accounts. You want to keep an eye on what taxes are going to do and make sure that you're building in the right types of accounts, because each of these accounts are treated differently from the taxation part as you pull out. So when you withdraw from those accounts, can I get more in the tax-free or, the tax already taken care of type of accounts versus the tax deferred, where when I pull it out, 100% is going to be taxable. Mm-hmm. Because right now, most people believe taxes are going up. We're at what, $29 trillion in national debt. So at some point, hopefully our government doesn't just let that go, infinitely growing. At some point we'll need to take care of that, and that's going to mean higher taxes. So the best thing to do is make sure that you're managing the types of accounts that you're in. But again, like I said, the tenants have to stay the same. You got to have the protection. You got to make sure that you're saving the right amounts in the right types of accounts. And then once you're in those accounts, you just understand where we are. We kind of refer to it as clock investing. Mm-hmm. So most people have heard about the sine curve with the way the economy goes up and down. We kind of make it a little bit rounded out, and 12 o'clock is the peak of the economy. 3 o'clock, you're into the recession. 6 o'clock's your trough. 9 o'clock, you're coming into a recovery, back to 12 o'clock. So try to get a feel of what time is it today and understand how the different types of asset classes react in the different timings. And then we can move the investments around accordingly. So if we're nearing 12 o'clock, we probably want to be more, if we're talking about an investment portfolio, we probably want to be more towards large cap, blue chip companies, that have multiple economies that they operate in around the world. So things like places, Coca-Cola, Johnson and Johnson, Microsoft, you know, even though the economy here in the US might be tanking, they're still going to be doing okay. Their stock price might be going down with the rest of the economy or rest of the market, but they're still profiting and paying dividends. So there's still a better investment to be in that scenario. Now, when we're towards the bottom, who's the first one to come out during a recovery? Those are your smaller companies. So you want to kind of adjust things based on where you see the economy at any point in time. So we always have the conversation with our clients and ask them, what time do you think it is? And based on that, that's how we figure out where we need to be. But again, stating one more time, the core tenets of the plan still shouldn't change.
Yeah. I like that analogy of the clock. That makes a lot of sense, as opposed to just kind of the, you got the sine curve up and down.
Yeah.
Thinking of it as, this kind of circular motion. I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So I invite anyone who has questions to feel free to put them into the chat. I have a couple more questions as well for Joe. I want to go back into your book a little bit, and I'm always fascinated by talking process a bit with all of our authors, because every author has their own process, and it's really interesting to hear about process. So what was the process of writing the book like for you? Walk us through that.
Yeah, well, for me, so a lot of it happened in between coaching my kids CYO football and, doing all these other things. Obviously, I had a full-time job. And so it was very, I think, elongated. Had I had nothing else to do, the process would have been a lot easier and quicker. But I found myself sitting down in the evening when everybody else was in bed, and just going back in, pulling it up, rereading chapters 1 through whatever, and remembering how I wrote it, and then editing as I was rereading them, because this time I read it, it just didn't sound like it did when I typed it out. So I'm going to change that around. So I just kept going back and doing that, and then stopped for a while because life takes you in another direction and you got so many things to do, and then come back to it. But it was the whole time I just wanted to imagine myself talking to a client. So when somebody picked up the book and opened any section and started reading it, hopefully they feel like somebody's actually speaking to them casually across the table. Mm. Rather than a textbook where they're going to nod off. So I really wanted it to be conversational. I tried to throw in jokes in there, and I tried to, to make it so just as I would if I was talking to somebody one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And that was like I said, that was a process of rereading it multiple times, and then once I felt I had it done, having 3 or 4 people that I trusted to just, would you please look at this from, you're not in the business. Does this make sense? Sure. Then have a few people that know nothing about finance read it and then tell me whether they understood it. And I got some good feedback during the process, but looking back on it, it was kind of fun. It was neat to do. Do you ever see yourself writing a second one? I think about it. I do. Yeah. I've thought about maybe expanding on the whole stewardship thought. So maybe having less finance, more stewardship, more faith. So it would be a continuation, but because I did have one person that I spoke to, another advisor in our office, one of our offices in Kentucky, that read through it, and he did say, he struggles with the whole stewardship piece himself, and he would have liked to see me to have a more expanded chapter on that. Mm. So I thought about maybe that would be another topic, but I think there will be. I don't know when, but I think I think I probably will do that. I'll talk to the publisher and see if, see if we can work something as far as a good idea of how to come up with it. Yeah, I can't be a repeat of this, but maybe something similar, but
Yeah.
take it a step further.
Well, I have to say, the process that you went through and, talking with people about it and you're writing and rereading it and infusing jokes and financial planning could be, for some people, a hard thing to get to, right? Money can sometimes be overwhelming. How do I plan for a future? And you did such a nice job in making your book approachable, and blending faith and finance together. You did a really, really nice job. So congratulations on a wonderful book.
Thank you.
I have, I'm always curious, and anytime I talk with alum, especially when I do these kinds of programs, I want to go into your John Carroll experience, because you've already mentioned Carroll a few different times.
Mhm.
And tell us about your Carroll experience, how JCU shaped you and your career, and how you stay involved with the university a bit.
Well, first of all, I mean, I loved it so much I had to stay a fifth year. So um, it John Carroll really did mean a lot to me, and probably realized it more years later after I was gone as to how much it meant.
Mhm.
So when I sit down every year, I sit down at the end in December, right around the last 2 weeks when things are always quiet. Everybody's busy with the holidays, so I don't have a lot of client appointments at that point. And I do a business plan for the next year. And I always write in AMDG as part of my plan that I will, my mission statement is to, follow the tenets of Ad Madrum Dei Glorim, of being a person for others. I want that as part of my practice. I want that as part of my life in general. So, just knowing that I just, for the first time ever, I got vanity plates for my car, and AMDG is in there.
Nice.
Just and that is because I want that as a reminder for me, and so that this way, when I walk out, I see it, and it's a daily reminder that that's my promise to myself, is to live that in my life and my practice. So I'm, as much as possible, staying involved with John Carroll. I served on the board. I live out in North Ridgeville now, so it's a little bit harder to get back to campus for some of the events. But I try to, do as much as I can, and I just try to live as a person for others as much as possible, and teach it to my kids and anyone else that'll listen.
Well, that's phenomenal, and I'm so thankful that Carroll had an impact on you, and I know all of our other alums as well. But again, having known you for a little bit in your volunteer role is something that you truly exemplify, AMDG, and I'm glad that Carroll had such an impact on your life. The final question I have, and then I'll open up to anyone else who has questions. If someone was interested in purchasing Love, Marriage, Money, where can they go ahead and find them? Or, do you have a website? What's the best way to learn more about you or the book?
And so there's two main places that you buy it, direct from Scepter Publishing. So scepterpublishing.org. And they have both the paperback and the ebook version. So you can save a couple bucks if you like looking on a Kindle device or something like that. You can get it, the ebook version, or you can get it. It is available on Amazon. Now, if you just do a search for it on Amazon, it's probably going to be down the list, because I haven't sold enough copies yet to boost me up to the even if you typed in the full title or 90% of the title, it's still probably going to be 5 books down the list. So you have to look for it. But it is available on Amazon as well. And, Scepter Publishing, like I said, is probably the easiest way to get it, because you can get the ebook as well.
Great. And I just did put those links in the chat as well. Joe, if
anybody
someone
does get it, please write a review on Amazon. The more reviews I have,
all the better, right?
Yeah,
if people have questions or want to reach out to you, are you okay if I share your information with them?
absolutely.
Great.
I welcome those questions. Send me an email, call me on my office line or cell phone or text, whatever. And if I can, as soon as I can, I'd be happy to get back to you.
Great. Well, what I'll do is in our follow-up email, as I do with all of our events, we'll include the recording of this program. I'll include these 2 links that if you are interested in purchasing Love, Marriage, Money, and then I'll include Joe's contact information if you have questions or want to reach out to him. So again, Joe, thank you so much for being with us this evening. I appreciate you sharing, your time with us, but then also your expertise and passion and your book. So we are incredibly grateful that you decided to take some time be with us this evening. So thanks.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Of course. Before we conclude, I want to provide some opportunity or an update on some opportunities for you to take advantage of this spring through the Office of Alumni Relations and John Carroll University. Thankfully, with the restrictions easing, the Office of Alumni Relations is working to create a variety of types of programs for our alumni community. We know that we'll continue to offer virtual programming, but we will soon begin to offer in-person opportunities as well. Our first in-person program is our Alumni Golf Classic, which will take place on Friday, June 11th at Sleepy Hollow Golf Course, with proceeds benefiting the Father Lavelle Cleveland Chapter Scholarship. On Saturday, June 12th, we'll host one of our signature programs, our Alumni Reunion. This year, we invite classes ending in 0, 1, 5, and 6 back to campus to reconnect with their friends and their alma mater. And on Thursday, July 15th, the Cleveland Alumni Chapter will host an Alumni and Friends Social at Terrestrial Brewing Company on the near west side of Cleveland. Registration is open for all of these gatherings. For those who prefer virtual programming, we'll have a variety of choices as well. This summer, we'll have authors who will share their works on lost Civil War battlefields, difficult decisions revolving end-of-year life and care, and the Cleveland Cultural Gardens. We'll also have Alumni Continuing Education Series, better known as ACES, focusing on St. Ignatius, as this summer marks the 500th anniversary of his conversion, and another one focusing on the Ohio and Erie Canal and the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Finally, we will once again be offering JCU Junior, which focuses on kids of our alums and our campus community. The topics this year include mythology, hands-on science, space exploration, and vaccines. You can find more information and register for all these upcoming programs and events at jcu.edu/alumni. Additionally, we invite you to view the recordings of all of our programs at the JCU Alumni Association YouTube channel. To view our extensive library, search for John Carroll University Alumni on YouTube. And finally, please consider a charitable gift to John Carroll in support of our students, faculty, and our entire campus community. If you've already made a gift this year, thank you for your generosity. If you have not, please join me in supporting John Carroll so that we can continue to deliver an outstanding education for our current and future Blue Streaks. You can make a donation by visiting jcu.edu/give. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Take care, be well, stay safe, and onward on John Carroll.